Okay, so this is the third video in the series of the Dirty Rice Rabbit project. So we're making a themed container. First video I made the overall form. Second video I started on the eyes and the face. And we made the flange. And now I'm going to be making the legs and the front legs. And what I decided to do was, if you can see, my clay is approximately more than 1/4 of an inch thick because there's some slight overlap. I'm going to use the Repoussé technique and stretch from the inside out to develop the hips. And essentially, instead of adding a bunch of clay, all I'm going to be doing, these will even be hollow, I'm going to add just the feet, and I'm going to stretch this out right in this area a little bit for the front arms, and we'll have our rabbit. So, you know, you want the legs in line, and these might be a little bit long, but to have the legs in line with the hips. If you've ever watched rabbit behavior, they sometimes will kick their feet out, but when they're tentative and ready to run or do something, their feet are ready. And again, that's kind of long, but I will fix that. So I'm going to shape this just a little bit more. I'll shape on this side, and then I'm going to do the same over here. And again, my clay is firm, but it's still soft, especially soft on the inside. So let me go ahead and continue. Again, Repoussé technique, it's a term they use in jewelry, and essentially what it means is to shape from the underside, and that's just what I'm doing. So I'm just shaping the hip. I have a technique for making mask, really quick, spontaneous mask, and I do this same technique. So now I'm going to make I'm just starting. I'm really aware that I'm not changing the shape of the opening where my lid meets the body of this steam container, but I'm just trying to shape this area slowly, and I'm using a wet finger. I don't know how the lighting is here, if you can see that. I'm just starting to shape a little bit of the elbow. And if you go too far out, you can push it back in. So in this video, I'll probably just attach the hind legs and get those done. So you can see the back view. Now, I have some bulging out right here, and I'm going to continue that. And again, you know, always check for symmetry. Make sure you're at the right spot on your work. In doing this, you'll also see possible seams in the construction process where you had some overlap, and those seams could be revealed on the outside. So you might want to come in and smooth that a little bit. Okay. I'm going to fill all of this area in to create the hip and try to keep it balanced. So just keep working. And again, pay attention that you're not distorting the shape of your opening where your lid meets the body of your form. Yeah. I'm going to get that hip really defined right up in here. And doing this is a lot better than adding a bunch of material to an already heavy form. You know, I mean, it is light, but you know, if you can, a functional piece, something going to be used, you know, having it a little bit lighter is better than just like a sculpture. Dang, it could be solid, right? It's just going to sit there. But something of functionality you might have on your countertop, if this is, or a table, you might need to move it to clean it or clean around it. So, again, constantly checking. I got this high, I need to bring this area out right here. And that little bit of a corner. Yeah. You can see that little seam I had there from overlap. And another good tool to have handy is the flexible metal rib. Use a knife to clean. These are really sharp. I'm going to do this and try and compress that seam that's starting to reveal itself. Compressing might push any air out. Also, I have a kind of flat bottom here, or edge. I'm going to use my modeling stick to clean that edge up. Okay. Yeah, it's starting to look like it has hips. Also, you know, rabbits have pouches. Some rabbits grow that skin underneath their neck and it gets quite big. And they have bellies, depending if they're domesticated rabbits. But you can see here, we've developed that. Trying to get you in line to see that. And now that little elbow on this side, I'm going to replicate it. I'm going to have a little arm protruding right out from here. So I'm going to define that a little bit more. Okay. I'm nicking the rim of my piece just a little bit. I might have to make an adjustment and refit my lid on. That might be a possibility using this technique. So, but just trying to be careful. And again, trying to get symmetry here. I don't know what this rabbit's hands are going to be doing, but this is a start. So there's the elbow. Now, let's put the head back on and see if we had any major distortion. Slightly. Not much though. Look at that. All of that movement, and look at that. I have the hips, I have the elbows, and I have the rabbit standing. So that's pretty good. And again, firm enough to hold its shape. The outside's got a nice skin developed, and most of the moisture content is on the inside. So again, I'm going to get ready and attach the bottom feet. And we can hollow them out. One way to hollow out, an easy way to hollow out without really removing any clay, it might expand in size a little bit, is to just take a modeling stick or pencil and put it in here and open it up. If you had any air holes, or maybe this was a coil that had some overlap, some trapped air, this is a good way to instantly hollow it out. And again, I'm going to be trimming that. There's one, and this is for the right side. Let's do the left. Same thing, you want to check, use the modeling stick. If you want to go, you don't want to go all the way through and just guess, so use it as a gauge. And I don't want to go any farther in than that, so I have my index finger and thumb as a gauge. When I get to that point, then I can start to open it up. Okay. And I could have air holes from the bottom to let that air out instead of making openings into what's going to be this cookie jar. Okay. So now, yeah, and those are kind of long, right? Because most of his fur is going to be sitting on that. So I'm just going to remove some material, and again, I'm going to be consistent. So I'm going to trim one and then trim them both. So I'll do them both at the same time, and I think I'm going to take off about that much. Okay, so clean knife, you can get it wet, and that'll help slide. And again, my piece is rounded, so these are going to be arcing slightly, and they're cut at the same time, so they're very similar. And I'm going to hollow out just a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. I think that's more like it. That seems volume appropriate, you know, and then I can put a coil here and feather that in. So what I'm going to do first, before I scratch to attach and score, I'm just going to put a couple of holes. Another good technique to know, if you were to just take a needle tool, push in and pull out, sometimes when you push in, and I can show you with this scrap piece of clay, sometimes when you push in, and then pull out, there'll be a little piece of clay that reseals it. So it's always good to put the needle tool in and wiggle and make an opening. That always works best, okay? So just another reminder and technique. And a couple of holes for now, just to make sure to let the air out. If you forget, then definitely these feet will blow off, right? So there. Now I'm gonna, before I attach, I'm gonna scribe where they make contact. And then while they're here, and I've got an easy access to take them off, I'm gonna make the rabbit toes. And again, essentially, they're just some grooves. And if you've ever held a rabbit, they got claws. They got toes with nails that are claws. They are sharp too. If you've ever seen a rabbit duke it out with another rabbit, yeah, watch that. We're just gonna give some of these an opening. Okay, I'll soften all that with a paintbrush and some water. Almost got away. So again, have references. You know, what are other good references is your memories, right? If someone is a cat owner, they definitely are familiar with the cat and the cat's shape. If they have a cat, I'm sure they pet it and play with it a lot, and they know what a cat looks like. So rely on some of your memories. And I'll soften these up and clean them up, but I got the basics started. So now I'm going to scratch to attach. Again, same technique. This would be just like attaching a spout on, except we're not going to make a hole through here. Since this isn't going to be seen, I'm here scoring. You can score the entire area if you wanted to. We're only going to need the perimeter edge. But again, I'm using the modeling stick. I'm using the screwdriver or chisel edge in line while scoring. Okay. Now, I'm going to score these. So I like to score in the same direction. Both surfaces. You know, and I could also, with this fettling knife, if I wanted to, I could take out some extra weight, you know, and do this one. This one's pretty good. So it's neat when you start to see it come together. And again, just like our teapot, our last project we did, you know, build it and then start working on your detail. And that could, you know, that could take a little time, but that's the enjoyable part, seeing the whole thing come together. Now, I'm going to do this like I would any spout or handle I'm going to attach. I'm going to use water and the score marks. I don't like that. I'm going to score more. Okay. I'm going to use water. And then I'm going to back it up with a coil around the perimeter edge on the outside. Okay. Yeah. And that coil will give us extra bonding connection, make it stronger, kind of like a weld. So you don't need a really fat coil. I would say, like this modeling stick, 1/4 inch or less is enough to make it work. Okay. I'm going to go around that perimeter edge. Yeah. Now I'm going to take the lid off and actually do the underside too. That could be a weak point where a stress crack could develop. And now I'm just using a brush to clean. You know, when you dedicate a brush to working wet with clay, you don't use it for glazes, remember that. But it's always good to have these with your tools. Then we can come in here and do a little bit of smoothing. Yeah. So I'm going to take this off. We'll look at our connection on the bottom edge. See how we're doing. Yeah, there's the seam we want to deal with right here. So we're going to take a little bit more of this clay. Again, being familiar with the consistency of your materials, knowing if it can hold the shape. You wouldn't want to do this with a soft piece of clay the way I'm holding this. If your form was soft, you wouldn't even cut the opening yet. You would want it firm enough to hold its shape. Okay. And then I can take this, let's see, sponge while we're here with this. You know, that's why it's good to always have a clean bat to set your work on. Whatever you set your work on, it's going to pick it up. So a bunch of dry clay, you're going to get crumbs. The bottom should be nicely finished. I'm not going to sign it right now. I have more work to do. But I'm going to clean it up and just make sure it's bonded well. Okay. This is a plastic bat, so I'm not going to have to worry about the wood drying it out. I could cover this whole thing in a plastic bag, and it could be in a holding pattern for now. So I'm going to kind of smooth this transition. I might even put a fold like there's fur, but we got a really good start. So there's the legs. For the front legs, let me put this back on. So for the front legs, they're probably going to be like this, and they're not very big. Here's my references again. I want to show you how they bend. You can see how they bend their feet. That's the bottom foot. That would be their forearm if they were human. So they're not as big as their hind legs. But something like that. Use our reference point. Yeah, they got to do a little turn here with their toes. Look at that. So that's how you just work. You start looking. We got a little bend. Sometimes it doesn't bend right. Here's a technique you can use. You can take this, and we're just going to cut a little V cut out, and that will allow the material to bend in such a way to give you that look. Okay. So that was the toes. There's a front leg. And then we can just literally attach it to here if we're going to have one like this. And we'll shave this off. Like that. This can be hollow, but you can see how the front leg will be. And I could stretch this out more and integrate that. That'll need to be hollow a little bit. Let me do one more. So, and I'll do the same thing, scratch to attach. I got probably another hour's worth of work on this, maybe a little bit more doing the detail, adding the ears and that, but I just want to get the legs on and show you what's happening. Yeah, we're going to give this a little kick up. And again, technique for getting that to bend, looking a little bit more natural. Cut a little wedge out. Creating the bend. And this one is on this side, so I'm going to shave all this back. And again, if you watched my clay animal video, you would see how to bevel cut the legs to get them to fit. So there's the rabbit kind of begging, right? So I'm going to work those a little bit more. I will attach them, and then I will have the ears. And I got some detail to do on the legs. So that's it for now. This is video number 3, Dirty Rice Rabbit themed container.